Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. I'm Nick Sulovich, part of the team at Cherokee Media Group, and we are grateful you've joined us for our session titled "Got Excess Inventory You Need to Move? Move It Effectively with AI," featuring Alex Carpizza, who is Vice President of Commercial Operations at Lotlinx. And Alex certainly has a lot of information to share based on great experience in the industry, as well as the great data and insights that Lotlinx has to share. Alex, it's great to have you back on an informational session. How are you?
Doing great, Nick. Thanks so much for having me. Looking forward to sharing some information with the world today on, I think, something a lot of dealers are thinking about right now.
For sure, for sure. So let's get right into it. Thank you, Alex.
Perfect. So, want to kind of go through a couple things. First of all, the state of inventory that we're really seeing here as we close the year out in 2023. Number one, inventory levels and inventory is becoming a little bit more stable, so dealers are able to, keep their lots full with inventory, unlike some of the shortages that we've been experiencing over the past several years. Secondly, we're approaching 2024, so all those 2024 models are arriving. They're hitting the lot, and that leaves dealers needing to make space for them. And a lot of 2023 models, got to get out of the way so that these 2024s can make their way to the lot. Number three is used car prices are still kind of volatile, and customers are really focused on price shopping. So it's become critically important for dealers to really understand what the prices are within their market and the prices customers are willing to pay specifically around used vehicles. And then lastly, interest rates are still high, and they may continue to climb. And so I think that that's putting a lot of pressure also on the new car market for new car shoppers, as consumers are still feeling some of the pain of the current economic state and the uncertain future of the economy. And so I think a lot of these things are really strongly influencing how dealers are thinking about their inventory and how they're thinking about advertising. One important thing that we want to think about is, what's the best way for dealers to move inventory faster and to ensure that they have proper digital coverage. And so a couple, trends that we're noticing and a few things that I think is really, really important for dealers to be looking at is that the average days on lot is increasing. We're seeing it across a lot of used vehicles specifically, also impacting new vehicles because of some of those interest rates that are slowing sales. And so this is something that's really hurting dealer pocketbooks and really starting to become a bit of a concern, as these vehicles that are on the lot are on the lot a lot longer, and they're also being sitting at a much higher average price than we've seen in the past. So typically we're seeing dealers sitting on vehicles that are 30, 40, $50,000 for over 45, 60, 75 days, which is really starting to impact their holding costs. And in addition to just having the vehicles on the lot longer, those holding costs in themselves are creeping up above average. I think a year or two ago we were sitting around the $50 to $55 mark. I think now we're certainly north of 60 or 65, as that real estate on a dealership's lot gets more expensive every day with the ways that the economy is trending. And unfortunately, as a result of the way that the economy has been trending, this means that sales and demand are going to be slowing as well. And so we have extensive amounts of demand data that we see across every single channel and medium that we integrate into, and we are seeing demand slow in general across new and used cars, depending on the price, depending on the market, depending on the location of these vehicles. And so as a result of the demand slowing, it's become a little bit more difficult for dealers to get those really close to ready to buy customers onto their digital websites, and then ultimately in person on their showroom floor to be looking at trade appraisals, to be looking at test drives. And so as a result of this slower demand, we're also seeing that sales cycle is taking longer. And so what we really try to educate our customers on is just to really understand the dynamics of the market. And we have a plethora of market data that we utilize not only for our machines and our AI, but also to put in front of our customers to give them insights into their market, for everything we know about every single vehicle. And so we're really trying to utilize what we would call a VIN first approach to ensure that for all of our customers, they're looking at all of their vendors equally. They're analyzing, everyone that is sending them traffic to their website, whether it's specific to vehicles, whether it's specific to offers or promotions, and really make sure that they're keeping an eye on how that's performing on their dealer websites. And more importantly, because of the way that the demand is slowing and the sales are slowing, we are really trying to take an approach with customers to mitigate risk by ensuring they have coverage across all inventory. And so when we talk about the word coverage across inventory, what we mean is there's a buyer for every single vehicle on your lot. And what we're seeing a lot of the time is the majority of the vehicles on a dealer's lot are not getting any digital traffic through their website. And so we have vehicles that have been on lot 20, 30, 40 days that have only had a small handful of traffic to them. We have a lot of these vehicles that are getting zero paid traffic attention. And a lot of this is just really on the dealers to analyze this information and ensure that they're holding their vendors accountable to make sure, hey, I've got 180 new cars. We need to get traffic to all 180 of those new cars. Or I have 56 used cars. How come these 20, 30, 40 cars are only getting 1, 2, or 3 shoppers per month when we're seeing the demand on these vehicles is more than that, even though it's not at an all-time high. And so without really taking a look specifically at your inventory at the VIN level, understanding the demand, understanding the price to market, understanding where you're currently advertising those vehicles and how effective that advertising is just simply on vehicle coverage, it's creating significant risk for dealers, and it's creating what we would call more lopsided visibility. On top of just getting coverage to vehicles and getting eyes on their cars, it's really important that dealers are measuring what those consumers and those in-market shoppers are doing once they hit their dealer website. Are they converting leads? Are they, signing up for to do trade appraisals? Are they looking at test drives? Are they filling out forms? Are they chatting with the dealer? Are they calling you? Are they texting you? Are they viewing photos? Are they looking at other vehicles on your lot? All of these engagement indicators are something that we really use to measure the intent of the buyers that we're sending to our customers. And so across all paid traffic, Google Analytics does a wonderful job of being able to show and track engagements and conversions once the customer is actually on the dealer website. And so, mitigating risk through coverage is really, really important. But what we find equally as important is looking at the quality of that coverage that's coming to those vehicles to make sure that we're not just sending, acquiring traffic to vehicles just to acquire traffic, but that we're always keeping an eye on to deliver the highest quality traffic that the customer could get on their website. On top of that, there's some really great things that can come out of data. And so being able to have access to the data is really critical and important. Google Analytics obviously is a great tool for dealerships to be able to analyze the performance of all traffic that's coming to their website and certainly to which vehicles. But you can take it a step above and you can actually leverage AI to help you make some of these decisions. And so, there's a couple questions we always want to ask. How do you know you're using the right AI? Where do you start with it and what do you need to know? So number one, what we want to typically look at is how to differentiate what we would call good AI from bad AI. And good AI from bad AI comes really down to good data versus bad data. And ultimately, it's about what type of data you're feeding into your AI system and how much history you have of that data to be able to rule out outliers, which we also call noise, that could make the AI predict something that may not be fully accurate. AI is only as smart as the questions that you're asking it, and its answers can only be as consistent as the data that it has to feed itself the information to make those distinctions and answer those questions. And so for us, it's really, really critically important to always talk to our customers about all of the information that you can feed into your AI system or any of the vendors you're working with to ensure, are they leveraging market data? Are they leveraging industry data? Are they leveraging vehicle information? Are they leveraging conversion and engagement data? Are they leveraging things like seasonality trends, sales data, traffic quality? Are they looking at pricing? And so by taking all of this, industry data, whether it's national, whether it's state specific, whether it's dealership specific, and feeding it into an AI system is going to be the best way to help make these decisions for your dealership. And these are all things that certainly a human can do, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of money, and there's a large margin of error when it comes to human intelligence, whereas artificial intelligence has a lot of those advantages that we don't need to worry about, provided that we are feeding it quality data, a good quantity of it, and allowing it to have really nice history so it can learn from seasonality trends and industry trends it's seeing. So specifically on our side, the data that we ultimately look at, to help dealers make strategic decisions for their inventory management is vehicle data, is dealership data, is location data, is what we call interest or engagement data, is competitive data. So seeing what your competitors are holding, what are they stocking, how much are they stocking, how are they pricing it, how quickly is it moving, looking at the demand in the market, which I touched on a bit earlier, and then ultimately specific to that dealership, their sales data. How well do you sell certain year make models? How well do you sell certain body styles of vehicles? What is your bread and butter? Can we help you optimize to continue to sell volume in what you sell best? Or can we help identify areas where, hey, the market is actually really, really strong in this, vehicle body style or in this vehicle make model, yet you're not selling them great. How can we leverage some of the tools that we have to help illustrate those vehicles that are potentially at risk, that are selling well in your market? And how can we, make some minor adjustments, perhaps around price or perhaps around where they're being advertised, in order to really elevate the coverage against those vehicles and help you meet the market. And so most importantly is the outcomes of AI. And so ultimately, we have a number of strategic outcomes that we try and look at across the entire vehicle lifecycle. Certainly, a lot of customers know Lotlinx as the promotional arm and the ability to advertise their vehicles everywhere that you could potentially find somebody on the internet and ensure that we're driving the lowest funnel ready to buy shoppers to the dealership's website. But we really like to think about it not just from marketing to sale, but actually how can we help influence the entire vehicle life cycle? And so ultimately, our goal is to help dealers with acquisition. We have a browser extension. It's called VMX. You can find it in the Chrome browser store that helps dealers at the vehicle level understand everything we know about that specific VIN and their market, so they can find that vehicle on their website. Our tool will pop up, and we can help them analyze what is the average price to market we're seeing on this vehicle, how much demand is in the market for this, how quickly are they selling, what is the competition holding on it. And that can help them with acquisition, because they can look at this and say, hey, this vehicle, the average price is actually pretty good for what I think I could acquire this car at. And according to the Lotlinx data, the demand is actually trending up. Maybe this is a vehicle we should look at acquiring. Or on the other side of it, sometimes you may see that the average price to market is actually quite low, and therefore the dealer's margin will be pretty slight on acquisition of that vehicle. So we can go all the way down to the acquisition side. AI has some really powerful things it does with reconditioning, things like understanding mileage and what a dealer may need to do in terms of getting that vehicle back up to speed, or maintenance they may have to do on that vehicle. They can look at the location. Is it in a wintry climate? I live in a wintry climate. Vehicles get plagued with sand and salt, and they end up rusting faster. These are types of considerations that AI can help dealerships with. Certainly pricing. Pricing is a big one. There's a ton of pricing data out there. There's a ton of amazing pricing tools. Leveraging AI to help you price vehicles based on all of the hundreds of attributes of a vehicle is something that we really like to work with customers on. And then from there back more towards the marketing side, how much budget should you be applying to advertising for these cars based on the demand, based on the market you're in, based on how quickly they're turning? When should you be advertising these vehicles? Should it be day one? Do they need to have a certain number of images? Does it matter how quickly that deployment happens in terms of duration? Should you try and spend aggressively in 14 days or 20 days, or should you pace that budget out a little bit and really wait for the right shoppers? And then ultimately, how much time do we think it's going to take to sell, which helps drive our dynamic budgeting abilities. So if we believe this vehicle can sell in 30 days, if you price it right and you advertise it right, well, then let's allocate the budget, within 20 days to make sure that we can beat that average days to sale. And then ultimately looking at profit per vehicle and being able to, address that and help the customers understand the, potential profit that they can gain off of these cars. In terms of looking at vehicles at the inventory level and at the VIN level, there's a lot of great tools out there that are really, really important. But a few things to consider is, how can you look at everything that's happening at the vehicle level? Do you know how much spend in VDP views your vehicles are getting? Do you understand which publishers or vendors are driving those views or not driving those views? And then most importantly, well, why do you need to know this? And so it all comes down to the avoidance of waste and the mitigation of risk. And the reason we use those two terms is to define waste as there's certain vehicles that get a lot of love. And we see that in the data that we're looking at every single day on a dealership's lot. And those vehicles that are getting a lot of love typically are the ones that the dealer sells best, typically are hot in market cars, typically are vehicles that are priced pretty well. And if that's the case and they're already getting a lot of eyes from good quality traffic sources, let's not spend more budget on those vehicles. If they're already getting what they need to sell in under the market average and keep the dealer competitive, let's take that budget and instead of continuing to spend it on those top 5, 10, 15 vehicles, which we see all the time, let's ensure that we can allocate it across. Back to my key term on inventory coverage. Let's make sure that all of your inventory is covered. Let's make sure all of your inventory is seen. And that's what we call risk mitigation. Any vehicles that are not getting enough love, we see as in a risk category. And those that are getting too much activity or already have what we see as an appropriate amount, we would say that's getting into a waste situation. Let's reallocate that budget. And this is why it's critical to understand where all your paid advertising is going. Of course, you want to look at your free, your organic, your direct traffic. You want to look at your referrals. But most importantly, where are you sinking your money in? You're sinking your money into your paid advertising. Those budgets are precious, and you need to make sure they're going to the right vehicle and performing well for you. And so, again, back to Google Analytics. Google Analytics, wonderful source of data. We have so many tools we've built around GA data to help dealers visualize their virtual inventory lot and to see where the most performant traffic is coming from and going to. Google allows you to look at this by channel. So you can look at it as, how's my paid search doing? How's my social doing? But they also allow you to drill down to a specific source medium. So you can look at an individual vendor, not just paid search, but how is my Google doing? How is my Facebook doing? How's my Instagram performing? How is vendor A, B, C, and D that's driving traffic through these sources performing? And this is completely visible in Google Analytics and also in a tool that we have, which we call the VinView Optimizer. So this allows you to then go back and hold your vendors, to hold your publishers, to hold your ad agencies accountable to ensure, hey, are we covering all of our vehicles or are we only hitting 20%? Are we on those 20% spending the majority of the budget, or are they just vehicles that are getting a lot of love from free traffic sources, which isn't as much of a concern? Where is our paid efforts going? How much inventory are we covering? So this is really important because we see this 80-20 rule across the map. 80% of their paid spend is going to 20% of their bins. This is not only true for advertising, this is also true for leads. We've been doing a lot of research and analysis into leads and integrations of CRMs. And what we're really seeing is that this 80-20 rule is not only true for paid advertising, it's also true that 20% of the cars get 80% of the leads. And so as a dealer, you want a lead on every single vehicle. You want a customer saying, hey, I'm a hand raiser. I want to know more about this car on every single car on your lot. So this is why it's critically important for dealers to really think about things at the VIN level, not only for their paid advertising, but also where their leads are going. And a statistic that has been going around the industry is that about 50% of leads go to 10% of vehicles, and 50% of those vehicles have zero leads. And so this is a pretty stark moment for dealers to realize, like, yeah, I'm getting a lot of leads, but where are those leads actually going, and are they all on the same car? If it's a new car, that's less of a problem because you can always bring more in. If it's a used car, well, now you're in a situation where you have multiple interested parties in one vehicle, and you have to transition people to a similar VIN or to something that may still suit their needs. So I think that's critically important. And so this is how we look at every single VIN. What you're seeing is just a brief snapshot of our VinView Optimizer. This is a tool where we integrate with a dealer's GA4 data and a dealer's inventory feed to create what we call as a virtual inventory lot. So every single one of those bars that you're seeing on the screen here, those each represent a vehicle. That's the x-axis. On the y-axis, you'll see right now it's dimensioned by VDP views. So this shows you all of your currently active vehicles over the last 30 days. Where is your VDP view dispersion happening? Is it going across all vehicles? Are certain vehicles getting more love than others? And as you can see, this is a pretty typical VVO that we see. And believe me, we see some that are a lot more significant where there's a lot more risk inventory. But what our tool allows dealers to do is break it down by the channel, as mentioned previously. You can also look at this at the source medium level, and it will color code to show you exactly where all of your paid, free, referral, direct traffic is coming from for every single vehicle on your lot. So this is a great tool for dealers to look not only at their live inventory, but also their sold inventory to see who really contributed the most to this. And this allows you to really, virtually picture your dealership lot and see where all those in-market buyers are going and see where you may need to adjust some of your advertising strategies to attack some of those risk vehicles that are sitting down at the further right-hand side of the VBO. So this is a completely free tool we offer to all dealers. All we require is access to GA4. It's a really quick process so that we can pull the data in directly from Google Analytics and display it in a nice, easy to use tool. And then certainly your inventory feed, so we can ensure that we have the most accurate information about your vehicles. With those two things, we can turn it around really quickly, and we can start telling customers a story about what is happening across all digital advertising efforts on their lot. I really encourage all customers to try this. It's a phenomenal tool. We've seen a lot of success with dealers analyzing their inventory, helping them understand their problems, and helping them make better decisions simply leveraging this tool. So I encourage you to go to lotlinx.com/demo. We have a demo form there. If you can just, when you're selecting the source, select webinar. And we would love to work with you, and we'd love to give you your own personal VinView optimizer walkthrough and demo. And so I think that this is a really, really key piece for customers to help them understand, how can I beat my market? Where am I, at a risk situation? Where am I at a waste situation, pardon me, and how can I address that? So I think that's very critical. Kind of getting into the last components here is really, what are the right metrics to evaluate performance? And so certainly earlier I touched on the fact that we don't just look at where we can source the best quality traffic. We measure that traffic once it hits the dealer's website on a specific vehicle, on a specific VDP, and we see and understand what types of actions those customers are taking. And so at the end of the day, every single car needs to be sold on a dealership's lot. Every dealer wants to sell cars faster than they're selling them today, for more profit than they're selling them today. So there's certain key metrics that we believe can be leveraged around digital advertising that can really help you track back to specific dealership objectives. And so on the left-hand side, what we're seeing is kind of, what would be more of the old school metrics. These are metrics that, as an organization and as an industry, I think everybody's trying to get a little bit away from, because at the end of the day, it comes down to selling vehicles, and it comes down to moving those vehicles quickly at a high profit. So things like ad impressions, engagement rates of those, users on those ads, clicks, page views, leads, return on advertising spend, CPM and CPC, how much traffic by channel, how much is their cost per lead. These are all metrics that everybody measures, and every single, dealership and agency and vendor do measure. But what we really want to see is a movement towards more ideal metal metrics. And so what is the ad spend that you're having on every single car on your lot? Again, trying to mitigate that risk. What is your current inventory days on lot, and what is the market sitting at? How can you beat the market? If you're already beating the market and your numbers creeping up, marginally, but the market has creeped up significantly, you're still in a winning situation. If you've decreased significantly and the market has only decreased slightly, you're still in a winning situation. So these are important metrics to look at. Profitability for every car sold. I think a lot of the times, dealerships look at their average advertising spend for used or average profit for used. And what we really want to start to talk more about is the VIN, and ensuring that we're thinking about every single vehicle, not just in reconditioning, but through acquisition, through reconditioning, into pricing, into advertising, and then certainly into sales, to really develop a nice profit and loss, to understand, hey, how much did I acquire this for? How much went into reconditioning? How much did I advertise it for? Ultimately, what was my selling price? And then once all front and back end gross is factored in, how much did I make on this car? And so that's, another really important metric we look at. Number of in-market buyers is a great driver to help dealers understand when to advertise cars and for how much. It's a metric that we leverage a ton. And because we have integrations into every single advertising channel, digitally and through video, we're able to really see where's the plethora of demand coming from for which vehicles in which locations. Then you also want to look at vehicle views or coverage. You want to look at those views by channel, as I referenced earlier. You want to see who's contributing to what and how efficient are they in covering all my vehicles. You want to look at your VIN health score. And so we have a concept, we call it the VIN health score. We look at a multitude of things. We look at demand, we look at the price of the vehicle, we look at the average days on lot compared to market. We look at, are there any incentives on these cars? We look at how much traffic has been sent to these vehicles. And so we look at about 12 to 15 different factors of a vehicle to come up with what we call a VIN health score, to say, hey, this vehicle's got a ton of demand. It's in a great location. You're priced right, but it's getting zero shoppers to it. what gives? What's the problem here? Let's go into the VVO and let's look at who is driving the majority of your paid traffic. And why are they not driving it to this vehicle that has a really nice price and that is in demand according to market data? And so this is where we can kind of really help dealers think about VIN health score to relate into which vehicles they should be advertising. And then certainly looking at competition. What is the pricing of your competitors on similar vehicles? How many are they holding? Do you have the only white BMW M3 that's a 2020 in your area, or are there 20 of them? All of these things are going to impact how a dealer advertises. And so, in essence, to summarize, AI is here. It's getting better and better every day. I'm learning more about AI every single day across not just the automotive industry, but in all other walks of life. You have to leverage AI to win. Those who don't will truthfully be left behind. The current climate of the industry has tons of dynamics at work. We all know about the economic dynamics happening. There's tons of technical dynamics. There's seasonality. All of these things are impacting how dealers need to look at their inventory, advertising, and how they can sell cars faster. Profitability is challenging and these budgets are precious. We don't want to waste where we don't need to. We don't want to present risk situations when we can take budget from waste and cover more vehicles. AI can help. It's here to help, and it's here to help you view your business at the vehicle level. And then it's really important to understand the right metrics to measure how you're performing and how you can get the edge up on your competition, leveraging all of these things above, but looking at it at the vehicle level and ensuring that your dollars are being spent in the right places.
Excellent presentation, Alex. Thank you so much for the great information and background details that you shared. And as we transition to a Q&A segment here to continue our webinar here, again, titled "Got Excess Inventory That You Need to Move It Effectively with AI." Alex, kind of a background and foundational question to get our Q&A segment started. Just how did unlocking all this additional insights via a VIN become possible, and how do you avoid those potential rabbit holes that might be tempting or what have you, and focus on the specific information that can help your dealership most? I guess some how we got here, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a number of things that came into play, but ultimately, a dealer knows everything about their inventory on their lot. There's very few dealers I've ever talked to that can't by heart tell me the year, make, model, and color if I send them a stock number. There's dealers that know their vehicles that are causing them challenges. There's vehicles that know the vehicle, or the dealers that know the vehicles that they're amazing at selling. Where we really focus down to the VIN level is around market data. And so, we always like to say, we know everything about every single VIN and its market. And dealers know everything about every single VIN on their lot, but where we can help inject data and information to them is leveraging market data. And so, as I mentioned, it is humanly possible for a dealer to go and look at every single similar vehicle for all their competitors around them and build themselves a spreadsheet and pull in all the data and figure out the pricing and figure out the stocking and see how fast that they're selling. And so all we have really done is just built tools where we allow dealers to do that in a snap. And so we have a ton of market data. We crawl every single vehicle in the US every single day, all dealer websites. And on top of that, we get a ton of market data. And so it helps us really understand the trends of the market and the industry to help provide dealers with insights. But breaking it down to the VIN level is critical, and it's very difficult to do unless you understand not everything just about that car, but about the market around it. So as I mentioned, if a dealer's looking at acquiring a vehicle, if we're able to say, hey, for this VIN, we're seeing X demand in Y location, and the market is actually selling them pretty quickly, this is a good buy. That's really where this started for us, is from an origination standpoint, was, hey, we've got all this great market data. How can we help dealers put these into tools like our browser extension? How can we help dealers ultimately leverage this data to keep improving in their markets and to make sure that they have something to look back at and say, hey, I think this is what's best for this car. Maybe I should look at some of the market data that Lotlinx has to help corroborate my beliefs, or maybe they have some information that's telling me, oh, demand's actually trending down on these things. Maybe we shouldn't acquire these cars. Maybe we need to price them more aggressively. And so there is certainly rabbit holes you can go down. But the way that we really look at it is if you're focused on the vehicle and you're focused on the performance of that VIN against the market and trying to improve that, that's as deep as you need to go. And I mean, there's many places to go deeper, but looking at demand, looking at how quickly they're selling, and looking at how they're pricing, those would be the top three.
Very good. It's amazing what information can be procured nowadays, and to get on the right path to find that information. If a vendor is saying that they do have AI tools and capabilities, what should a dealer ask to make sure that their data is what they need so that the process gets started correctly from the get-go?
Yeah, and so I think really trying to understand what depth of data they have. So are we talking just about data for that specific dealership, which in itself is great, and we do dealer specific AI models, but it works way better with customers who have been on for several years because you kind of understand their business dynamics. And so certainly I think what's important is the sources of that data. How deep are they? And then certainly it's trying to understand, okay, looking at all the data points they're putting into their AI, what part of my VIN lifecycle or what part of my business is that going to have relevance to? So if they're pulling in things like weather and climate data, okay, that can have some relevance to advertising, but as mentioned earlier, that'll have a lot of relevance in things like reconditioning and pricing. And so I think that the right questions to really ask is to find out, what are you using data wise? How much data is there? And show me examples of how you're using this with other customers. Show me case studies where customers have leveraged your AI and won and improved their days to sale, have improved their profitability. And so those are, a couple of higher level key pieces of importance. And then trying to understand how long has this dealership or this vendor been doing AI. Us personally, we started our AI journey back in 2018. And we've built a great team of AI and ML developers and data scientists that are constantly working on this every day. And so I think showing the longevity of which they've been committed to AI and how quickly they're keeping up with the newer trends is really critical and important.
Excellent. And along the same lines of getting off on the right foot, so to speak, what strategies, mentioned some already, but perhaps reemphasize or reiterate, can dealers use to ensure that fresh to lot inventory is frontline ready, and what considerations should dealers make when assigning their advertising budget as that vehicle arrives to get on the right path?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a great question. And I mean, it's going to come back to a lot of the themes I've been saying throughout the webinar here so far. But our biggest, consideration that we try and discuss with dealers immediately is to understand their merchandising process. Although we don't have specific tools to help them take pictures faster, we have the ability to backfill with stock photos near immediately. So if the dealer has new vehicles that they typically take 7, 8, 9, 10 days in order to get custom photos, hey, we can spin up a campaign for this car day one. We're going to backfill it with what we call our Lotlinx Photos product, where we can put a custom background on top of a stock vehicle, color matched exactly to the VIN that we're advertising. And on day one, we can start advertising that car. Because frequently what we see is a lot of vendors don't start advertising vehicles for dealerships until they've got their 30 plus photos and until the price is perfectly set to market. And by that point, the vehicle has been sitting on the lot for several days. And so for us, it's really about how can we help you get quickly to market and what can we help you do as you wait for that merchandising process. Another thing that we really try to advise dealers on ahead of time is to leverage some of the market data we have around pricing. Sometimes we see customers that may have an intentional strategy to price a little bit high and then use markdowns to try and drive more shoppers. What some data that we've seen suggest is actually coming in at a competitive price day one and advertising those vehicles right away at a price that's not going to scare a customer away or have them go, oh man, I'm going to have to grind this dealer through negotiation in order to get down to the budget I'm looking for. But sometimes pricing those vehicles appropriately out the gate and ensuring that they're merchandise ready or at least advertisable is something that can really help them decrease their days to sale. And so that's ultimately how we like to look at it. And then in terms of assigning advertising budget, we have a ton of tools that we leverage around average market days to sale, average spend per vehicle, average last listed or average selling price of the vehicles. And so these are all pieces of data that we can help customers with during that frontline ready process to ensure, okay, am I pricing this right? How quickly do we think we can sell this? As a result, how much budget should I allocate? And so those are all things that we're always happy to help with.
Excellent. Well, Alex, let's touch on one more
Sure.
strategy question as we're having our webinar here, again titled "Got Excess Inventory That You Need to Move it effectively with AI." And our guest expert from Lotlinx is Alex Carpizza, who is the Vice President of Commercial Operations. And Alex, we're sharing our conversation here. It's winter time, to say the
Yes.
least, depending on where you are, and perhaps potential buyers might be on their devices even more, watching or listening or scrolling or what have you. Just how might ad strategy change, especially the online components that to reach those potential buyers who might be again watching, listening, or scrolling that much more?
Yeah, absolutely. And as a fun side note, I live up in Canada in the Great White North, where it is absolutely wintertime. However, it's above freezing today, which is totally unseasonal, but it's a beautiful sunny winter day here. So I am certainly in winter mode. One thing that is absolutely of the most importance is to make sure you're everywhere. A lot of customers we see, they come and work with us, and they're like, "Well, do I need you guys? I'm already doing SEM, or I'm already doing my own social." And it's not just limited to SEM and social. You have to be integrated everywhere. So we integrate into all advertising platforms. We integrate into all SEM platforms. We integrate into every social platform. We have over 110 plus automotive endemics, publishers, review sites, marketplaces that directly integrate our inventory to ensure that we're getting in front of every potential buyer out there. And furthermore, we also have a video product where we get into taking the same omni-channel approach that every vehicle needs to be assigned a budget based on the quality of traffic sent from every single one of those channels. Again, my hint back to making sure that the customers we're driving are doing the best quality engagement pieces on the dealer's website. And so being integrated into those video networks and those video channels and into every single place that a customer could search digitally is of critical importance. So whether you're doing that through multiple vendors or through one vendor, you want to make sure that you take an omni-channel approach to your advertising and that you don't put too many eggs all into one basket just because the cost per click is low or because, oh my gosh, I get such a boatload of traffic from this source. You have to look at how that traffic is turning over for you and is it really helping you sell cars. And so our approach has always been integrate everywhere and let the machine decide where to allocate that budget based on your make, model, trim, and location, and the quality of in-market buyers that we're seeing. How low funnel are they, and how ready to buy are they? And so that is really critical across all times of year. But yes, specifically in winter, when people are going to be sitting in front of their devices a lot more and engaging in video content, engaging in digital content, you have to make sure you're everywhere. So make sure that whatever vendor you're working with is taking a full omni-channel approach across every single digital advertising channel and video channel out there, and make sure to check that they're balancing those budgets adequately to optimize for quality and not just the cheapest traffic they can find.
Excellent. Well, Alex, let's wrap up our Q&A segment with one more question here. You referenced during your presentation the technology horsepower that Google brings to the table. If a dealer already has GA4 on their websites, again, how can they see the visits and channels that are landing on their VDPs, stemming from all of those potential sources you just referenced?
Yeah, certainly. So within Google Analytics 4, they do a pretty good job of allowing you to be able to view their channel reporting or view their source medium reporting. Where dealers sometimes run into trouble is they have to export that data and then they have to put it into their own Google Sheet or into their own Excel and build their own bar graphs and charts to see, okay, how much traffic did this one get? And then figure out, well, how much did we spend on that vehicle? And so, although all the data exists really nicely in Google Analytics itself, and if they have access to that, I highly encourage you look at your acquisition, your source medium, and your channel at the vehicle level, most importantly, because when it's rolled up, you have no visibility at the vehicle level. Or if you wanted to, try out our free tool, we're always happy to set it up for you. It's always free. It'll give you a ton of insights, whether you end up working with us in the future or not. And we've already done all the back end work to connect in the Google APIs to pull that data out and to present it beautifully in a really nice dynamic environment that allows you to analyze and really investigate your inventory at the vehicle level.
Excellent. Well, Alex, before we close out and let you go, just again, how can dealerships get in contact with you and the Lotlinx team to get on that path to finding this great information?
Absolutely. So I'm not going to spell my email out because I have a confusing last name, but lotlinx.com, we've got a lot of great content on there. We've got awesome case studies, great marketing material, and really highly recommend lotlinx.com/demo. Sign yourself up for a demo, no strings attached. We'll get a VVO set up for you. We'll do a free analysis with one of our, our in-house sales reps with you to really truly understand the inventory problems you are facing. And if there's any dealers that want a personalized demo from me myself, I'd be happy to do it. So, for those that are, tuning into the webinar, drop a comment into the demo request, and I would be happy to walk you through it myself, as I was, part of the product team for many, many years and helped build all of these tools. So I would love to offer that to dealers as well.
Excellent. That's Alex Carpizza, who is Vice President of Commercial Operations at Lotlinx. Alex, thank you so much for taking us through an intriguing technological journey and how Lotlinx can be a partner along that way. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nick. Really appreciate it. This is great.
And on behalf of all of us at Cherokee Media Group, we thank you so very much for joining us, and we look forward to having you again next time.